Welcome to ACC Student News. I'm Ryan Rose.
And I'm Jeremiah White. Here are these week's stories.
Georgia Parliament falls into chaos as a new controversial law sparks outrage. The Foreign Agent Bill calls for media and non-commercial organizations to register as being under foreign influence if they receive 20% of their funding abroad. This law has sparked chaos into Georgia's parliament and citizens, causing people to spill into the streets and begin to protest, hopefully put an end to this bill. Georgian politicians are similar to disconnect with each other, with the leader of the bill being punched in the face by the opposition leader.
This week in Australia, a total of 2 stabbings happened in 3 days. Rocking the country, both of the attacks took place in Sydney. The first at the Bondi Junction Mall, where a man stabbed 18 people, killing 6. The killer, 40-year-old Joel Cucci, only stopped when he was shot dead at the scene. The man was reportedly mainly attacking women, with 5 of the 6 people he killed being women. Just 2 days later in the same city, a bishop and a priest were stabbed as they were live streaming their church service. The police later arrested the suspect, who turned out to be an unnamed 16-year-old boy. The video of the attack quickly spread on social media, and within hours, a large crowd had formed around the church, which was being used to hold the teenage suspect as police held their position around the church. People began to riot, causing paramedics and police to have to retreat into the church. 20 police vehicles were damaged during the riot, with 10 being totaled. As of now, the attacks have no connections.
Williams Brock, an 81-year-old man, has been charged with murder after allegedly shooting an Uber driver. Brock, believing that the Uber driver, Lathea Hall, was part of a scam group from which he had been getting calls from. Hall was found shot multiple times near Williams' home. Brock, who called 911, had an injury to his head and ear was bleeding when the police arrived. According to the police report, Hall was taken to a hospital in Dayton, where she later died due to her injuries. Brock pleaded not guilty, and bail was set $200,000.
The Tennessee House of Representatives passed a bill that would make it legal to marry your first cousin in that state. The bill was introduced as a public health-related matter, added the law needed to be passed to prevent cousins from getting married and conceiving a child that could have an increased risk for birth defects. Some lawmakers in the House argued that as it is written, it could violate a Supreme Court decision that had made same-sex marriage legal across the country. However, Representative Gino Busso stated that 2 men who are the first cousins could get married because there would be no risk of having a child with birth defects. There are currently 26 states that prohibit first cousins from marrying each other.
Haiti has formally established a transitional council to fill the leadership vacuum by choosing a new prime minister with hopes to restore the country. A decree was published in an official paper that the formation of the presidential council. It has been 1 month since Prime Minister Ariel Henry said he would step down amid the wave attacks by armed gangs. The decree said the council would help speed the deployment of international troops that was requesting in 2022 by the former prime minister to aid police. This council will be based on the National Palace in Central Port au Prince. They have not given names of council members.
After the barrage of missiles and drones into Israel, the Iranian military says that they are ready to deal with any retaliation attack by Israel. According to an AP News, Israel is against Iran, which would risk further expanding this war between the two officials. Have not said how or when they might strike. Many world have been urging Israel to show how restraint and the threat of a multi-front war mounts. It is clear that direct Israeli attack on the Iranian soil would lead to a major fallout. Iran says it carried out its initial strike to avenge an Israel airstrike that killed 2 Iranian generals in Syria, and has pledged a much tougher response should Israel counterattack on their land. That's all for this half of the ACC Student News.
Make sure to stay tuned for more news.
So we go over all the Adobe programs here, and then we also do production work.
I learned how to design logos. I learned how to just this year, like screen printing, doing production.
We get to work with clients all day long. We get to collaborate and talk to each other.
You learn about like everything that involves graphic communications and all that.
In the real world, which is the number one example Mr. Haluska uses, each project we do kind of adds to that list of things we've learned, so we're going to be able to do it on our own one day.
We do a lot of projects for actual people, so that it's a lot of real world experience. So when you go out, you can put that on your resume, say that I've done actual hands-on work, which a lot of jobs nowadays usually require.
Looking for a job, you have easier job opportunities because you have this practice.
I've already noticed a few things that I've learned have been applied in certain classes that you take, such as art classes. The skills you learn are really useful because you learn how to position things and how to make things look visually pleasing.
It definitely gives you a lot of opportunities if you want to find a job afterwards, anything freelancing wise. It gives you a lot more room to breathe with that because you know more about it.
It helps me incorporate my creative skills into the actual real world and a career, because I didn't really know what I wanted to do outside of art for the longest time, but I finally figured it out after taking this class.
Welcome back to ACC Student News. Here are some more stories.
A man in Austin, Texas was arrested for attacking a Walgreens employee with a Pop-Tart. The incident began when an employee accused a 33-year-old of shoplifting, leading to a blow between the two. The suspect then threw a Pop-Tart at the employee's upper clavicle area. The employee then fled into the store and called 911. The suspect ended up escaping with $58.62 worth of stolen property on a bike. The suspect is currently in custody and is being charged with robbery by assault and is also being held under a $1,500 bond.
The Olympic flames for Paris have been lit in the ancient city of Greece, where the Olympics started. In ancient times, the flame was lit with energy from the sun and remained in the sanctuary at Olympia. The flame will be carried more than 3,000 miles, reaching Paris in time for the summer 2024 games.
The Supreme Court gave permission to Idaho to temporarily block forms of gender affirmation care for minors. Idaho filed an emergency request stating that they want to enact the ban, even though a lower court order had stopped any bans like this from being enacted. The Supreme Court has since granted the request, allowing for temporary use of the ban. The law bans transgender minors to access certain medical treatment, including puberty blockers, hormone therapy, and surgical procedures. 3 liberal justices objected to the decision and stated that it should be blocked in full.
Pro-Palestinian demonstrators blocked roadways in Illinois, California, New York, and the Pacific Northwest. This act temporarily shut down travel into some of the nation's most heavily used airports. In Chicago, protesters linked arms and blocked lanes of Interstate 190 leading into O'Hare International Airport. Protesters said it was part of a global economic blockade to free Palestine and that they chose O'Hare because it is one of the largest airports. Among other things, they've called for an immediate ceasefire in the war between Israel and Hamas. Some travelers stuck in standstill traffic left their cars and walked the final leg to the airport along the freeway, trailing their luggage behind them.
Biden hosted the Czech Republic minister in the Oval Office as he praised Czechoslovakia for supporting Ukraine in his 2-year invasion. However, Czech and Slovakia separated in 1993. This separation ended the 75 years of a Czechoslovak state. The new nation has been requested to be called Czechia, which they made official in 2016.
An escaped circus elephant roamed the streets in a small town in Montana. Viola the elephant escaped from a traveling circus called Jordan World circus when she was spooked by a sound of a car during bath time. The elephant was rounded up by the handlers within 20 minutes of having escaped. The People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, also known as PETA, said they were able to identify the elephant because she escaped confinement at least 2 times before in 2010 and 2014. They also said that she was elderly. No one was injured in the incident.
That's all the news we have for this week.
Be sure to check out our YouTube channel at ACC TV Hammond.